Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we take those overwhelming stacks of research and transform them into a concise, powerful system you can apply immediately. Today, we are undertaking a high-stakes investigation into the world of global sourcing.
Yeah, this is a massive topic for entrepreneurs and businesses right now. The sources shared by the listener, they really focus on a crucial pain point.
Which is?
It's how do you confidently find, verify, and then negotiate with international suppliers?
Yeah.
Whether they're in China or these emerging hubs like Vietnam and Turkey.
Right, and how do you do it without falling victim to scams or just completely mismanaging the risk?
Exactly.
Absolutely. So the mission here isn't just to list a bunch of websites, it's to extract a practical, expert-level roadmap. We want to give you, the listener, a system you can use right now, even if you have zero import experience.
It's about replacing that fear with a solid structure.
Okay, let's unpack this. So we have to start where all the sources begin, the foundational knowledge. Before you even think about sending an email, you have to understand the landscape. Specifically, the three distinct types of suppliers you're going to find. Getting this wrong is like the most costly mistake a beginner can make.
That's absolutely right. When you post an inquiry, you'll hear back from 3 different kinds of companies. And everything, your price, your MOQ it's all going to be different.
Okay, so what's the first one?
The first is the manufacturer, the actual factory.
Right.
They're the ones who own the machines and produce the goods.
Which means lower prices, I assume.
Lower unit prices, generally, yes, because you're cutting out the middleman. But, and this is a big but, factories have huge overhead. So they have to demand a higher minimum order quantity, or MOQ. They're really built for long-term strategic scaling.
Okay. Then you have the second type, the trader or exporter. Now, is that just a costly middleman we should avoid?
They are a middleman, but that cost isn't always a weakness. It can actually be a really valuable service, especially for beginners.
No, sir.
Well, traders often have much better English communication skills. They have smoother processes for handling all the paperwork, the compliance. They basically facilitate the whole transaction. Yes, the price is slightly higher, but for a new importer, that convenience can save you so many headaches.
Okay, that makes sense. And the third category?
That would be the wholesaler.
So they hold the inventory, ready stock.
Exactly. They are fantastic if you only need, say, 100 units right away, very low MOQs. But because you're buying it right off their shelf, you're going to pay the highest prices. They're best for, maybe testing a new market or a new color, but not for your main product line.
So the real aha moment here isn't just factory is always best. It's about matching the supplier type to your current business size and your goals.
Precisely. If you're just starting small, it's a total waste of time to email a huge manufacturer who needs a $50,000 minimum order.
Okay, so that's the who. Now, before we even start searching, the sources are really insistent on this. You have to look professional. What's the critical homework you have to do?
This is what separates the serious buyers from the time wasters. Step 1 is to finalize your product specification. You can't just say, I want to import LED lights. That's way too vague.
Yeah.
You need to say, I want a 12-watt LED panel light, 6,500 Kelvin, aluminum body, UL certified for the U.S. market. You have to know the specs, the materials, packaging, everything. That detail shows you've done your homework.
Yeah, and that clarity immediately builds your credibility. Okay, what's step 2?
Absolutely vital. Know your HS code, the Harmonized System Code. It's the global standard for classifying products. It's crucial because it does 3 things. 1, it helps you find the right suppliers. 2, it determines your import duties. And 3, the right code avoids massive, expensive delays at customs.
And the final piece of prep work.
You need to know your quantity and your target price. You've asked for a quote, but don't say if you want 1,000 pieces or 50,000 pieces.
They can't give you a serious price.
Exactly. And you need to have a target price in mind from your own research. Clear numbers just speed everything up.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Once that prep work is done, where do we actually find these suppliers? Let's start with the giant, China.
China is, the world's factory, but its sourcing ecosystem can be complex. For online platforms, the sources point to 3 main ones. Alibaba.com is kind of the entry point. It's best for beginners and small to medium orders.
But you have to use the filters, I imagine.
You absolutely have to. Only choose gold suppliers, always check for trade assurance coverage, and this is critical look for suppliers who have been registered for at least 3 to 5 years. Newer ones are just a higher risk.
What if your product is more industrial, like machinery?
Then you might look at madeinchina.com. It tends to have more focused, high-capacity manufacturers for industrial goods. And for high-end electronics, or if you really need top-tier professional exporters, globalsources.com is often the better choice. MOQs might be a bit higher, though.
The sources also mentioned going beyond those big platforms.
Yes, because the best verification often happens off-platform. Use targeted Google searches. Don't just search factory. Search for OEM plastic injection factory China or automotive parts manufacturer Shenzhen. That often takes you right to their own corporate website where you can see a lot more detail.
But the lowest risk method, according to every source, is the trade fair.
Without a doubt. Think of the Canton Fair. The reason it's the best is that these companies have invested a lot of money just to be there. It proves they're stable, they're professional, you meet them face to face, you can touch the product. It just cuts down your verification time so much.
Okay, let's do a quick tour of the alternatives. Vietnam is exploding right now. What's the strategic play there?
Vietnam is huge for supply chain diversification. Their specialties are really strong in furniture, apparel, and footwear. You can find suppliers on Alibaba using the Vietnam filter, or on local directories like Viet Factory.
What about Bangladesh? I always hear Garments Hub.
It is. It's almost all about ready-made garments. The big reward there is probably the most competitive pricing in the world for large volume apparel. The trade-off, though, is they usually have much higher MOQs.
And moving west to Turkey.
Turkey's advantage is quality plus easy access to European markets and standards. They're great for high-quality textiles, home decor, and certain types of machinery. TurkishExporters.com is a good starting point there.
And for something really high-tech or precise.
South Korea and Taiwan. They lead in high-tech electronics and precision components. The big advantage there is often better IP protection and real engineering expertise. You look at government trade groups like Cotiro or Titra.
Finally, Europe, the premium option.
Yeah, for true luxury goods, medical devices, that kind of thing. Germany and Italy are key. You're not looking at B2B sites here. You're looking at very specific industry associations and trade fairs. And we connect this to the bigger picture. Finding them is only step one, verification. That's the firewall that prevents you from losing a ton of money.
And the sources are clear on this. Never, ever trust just one supplier. You have to shortlist. What's a good number?
A minimum of 5 to 7 suppliers. And you have to use a rigid checklist. How old is the company? What countries do they export to? Do they have the right certifications? And honestly, how clear is their communication? If it's sloppy now, imagine later.
Okay, we've got our shortlist. Now for the verification itself. How do we confirm they're the real deal?
Method 1 is simple, but so effective. The video call factory tour. Don't let them just show you a desk. Ask for a live walkthrough of the factory floor. See the machines running. If they refuse, that's a huge red flag.
Smart. Method 2 is more about the paperwork.
Business license verification. For China, you can use their national credit system or hire a local agent to check it. This confirms they're a legal entity and their business scope matches what they claim to do.
And method 3 is the ultimate safeguard. It costs a little, but it's worth it.
It is the best return on investment you will ever make in sourcing. Third-party inspection. Agencies like SGS or TUV will literally send an inspector to the factory. The sources say this costs a few $100s, but it saves thousands in losses. Skipping this is just professional negligence.
And speaking of negligence, skipping the sampling process is another big one.
A huge one. You have to get that sample in your hands and test it. Quality, finish, functionality, everything. And here's a surprising insight from the sources. Paid samples are a good thing.
Really? Why is that?
A serious manufacturer charges for a sample because it proves you are a serious buyer. If they just send them out for free, it might mean they don't value their own quality control.
Okay, we verified the supplier, we've approved the sample. Now negotiation. What's the amateur mistake we need to avoid?
The absolute worst thing you can say is, give me your best price. It tells them nothing. To negotiate like a pro, you have to use specifics. Your exact order quantity, your target market, and the long-term potential of your business. Suppliers give better prices for clear, predictable, repeat business.
Are there quick ways to lower the price without touching product quality?
2 easy ones. First, increase your quantity. That's just economies of scale. Second, look at the packaging. Unnecessary glossy boxes or extra layers add a surprising amount to the cost. Simplifying it can get you an immediate price cut.
Next up, payment terms. This is where the real risk lies. What is the absolute #1 rule?
Never send full payment before inspection, period. Your safest options are escrow services like Alibaba Trade Assurance, or for very large orders, a letter of credit, an LC, through a bank.
And for a more standard order?
The industry standard is 30% advance to start production. Then the remaining 70% is paid only after a successful third-party inspection, right before the goods are shipped.
Let's touch on Incoterms briefly, the rules that define who pays for what in shipping.
Yeah, it's a deep topic. But for beginners, you just need to know the main ones. EXW, or Ex-Works, means you're responsible for almost everything once it leaves their factory. FOB, free on board, is much better for beginners. The supplier gets it onto the ship at their port.
And the other two common ones?
CIF, which includes cost, insurance, and freight to your port, and DDP, delivered duty paid, where they handle pretty much everything right to your door. The sources suggest beginners should stick with FOB or CIFs. It's the best balance of cost and risk.
And for the actual shipping itself?
Sea is cheapest but slowest, air is fast but expensive, and you always need a reliable freight forwarder to handle the paperwork, and you must get insurance.
So, to wrap up the pitfalls, what are the critical errors this system helps us avoid?
Falling for a price that's way too cheap, skipping that third-party inspection, relying on only one supplier, and not having a clear written agreement.
And finally, it's about building a relationship, not just a transaction.
Absolutely. Pay on time, be transparent about your needs, respect cultural differences. That's what ensures they'll prioritize you when things get busy or if a problem comes up.
That was a tremendous deep dive, moving step by step from the initial homework all the way through to negotiation and logistics. We've really covered the critical stages to give you a structured system to approach this with real confidence.
And the core message from all the source material is so clear. Finding suppliers internationally is not risky. Doing it without knowledge is what's risky. This process, it just neutralizes that risk.
This raises an important question. Given the absolute necessity of verification and paid sampling to establish quality before placing a bulk order, how can strategic factory visits, even if they're infrequent, be leveraged not just for compliance, but to radically shift the perceived long-term potential of your partnership and unlock otherwise inaccessible pricing tiers? Something to consider as you map out your strategy. Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.